Keith here from Command the Hoop Celtic. First of all, I just want to say thanks very much for the 3,000 subscribers. Hit the milestone last week. I appreciate the support. Look, I've been doing this since December 18. It's a hard job. When you sit down, come up with a bit of statistics, come up with random videos, talk about games. It can be hard to do, and a lot of people don't have confidence to put themselves in front of a camera. But look, I'm here to talk about the Bertie boy today. The granddad of the club, I call him. He's like a granddad to us all. Bertie Auld. Bertie Auld, you could say. A Lisbon lion. 16 honours for Glasgow Celtic. 2 spells at the club. 267 appearances with over 78 goals. Now, he played 2 different positions for the club. In his first tender, he played on the left. And then the second tender, he played in more central midfield with Bobby Murdoch. So, let's kick it off. Born in 1938 in Maryhill, right beside Partick Thistle Stadium. He was born during World War II. So when he was a win, he basically he was used to the bombings, used to hearing of the fucking war sirens and stuff like that. Crazy times to be born in the mad generation. But Celtic signed him. Celtic eventually signed him. He played for Maryhill for a little while and never played for Partick Thistle, even though we were literally a stone drop away from his house. He never really seen Partick Thistle Stadium, so he just wasn't for him. Got the chance. Jimmy McGlory gave me his first contract. He was signed for basically £20 at the time. Jimmy McGlory offered him a drink, and his dad was like, not a chance. His dad ended up having the drink in Celtic Park, bring him around the stadium. Obviously, it was a different stadium then it was compared to what it was now. Jesus, completely different structure then. But showed him the trophy room, showed him saying, look, this is a massive club, going to be part of history, see how you get on. So, played on the left wing, made his debut in 1957 against Rangers in the Challenge Cup. Unfortunately, we lost that day. He trained a lot with the reserves. He trained a lot with Jock Stein at the time, when Jock Stein was a kind of player coach at Celtic. Then he went off. He got signed in 1961 for Birmingham City. So how that came across was Celtic were playing a game in Tynecastle against Hearts. Some random lad scout came in from England into the dressing room, and he was sitting down and sorting his boots out. He said, I want you to come and sign for Birmingham. Now, Bertie didn't have a clue where the hell Birmingham was. He thought it was a tram ride away. That's how mad he was. He was like, the only time the place I'd been outside Glasgow was Irvine, because that's where his mum was from. So following day, told his dad anyway that night. Following day, went down to the club, done his usual stretch and his run, and him and his missus Liz agreed that they go down to Birmingham, look at the facility, got to meet a couple of players that day, and then he signed for the club for 15 grand at the time. A lot of money in then days, especially in the 60s. 15 grand. So he won a League Cup with Birmingham City, played in the First Cup as well, played against Rome and stuff like that back in the day. How the move came back to Glasgow Celtic, 1965. A couple of teams from Scotland were playing down against England in Villa Park. Obviously Villa Park's in Birmingham. You heard that the Scots was down, you heard Sir Robert Kelly was down. We all know who Sir Robert Kelly is. And Jock Stein. Jock Stein was in the dependent process of becoming Celtic manager at the time. So he met him at a hotel in Birmingham, the middle of Birmingham, and he said to him, it's like, oh, congratulations on the baby. It's like, how the hell now do they know of a baby? Like, I'm 150, 200 miles down the road at this rate, and how do they know that? So the time Jock was with Hibs, they were still in the Scottish Cup, and so Robert Kelly said, look, I know you quite well, Bertie. I know what you want. Do you want to come back up to Glasgow and play for Celtic again? In the back of his mind, he always said, one day I will return to the club. He said, why not? So Jock, he was one of Jock's first signings after it was all history. It really was all history. Look at 16 honours for the club, he's a part of that team that won 5 trophies in one season. He's a part of the team that went to do 9 in a row between the 60s to the early 70s as well. Lisbon Lion. What stands out about Bertie Auld is basically he was the lad in that tunnel that started singing the Celtic song, It's a Grand Old Team. He got it going. He wanted to intimidate the Inter Milan team. Look, the Inter Milan team were a phenomenal team. Like, they were class, absolute class. But we got off the line that day, as we all know, 25th of May 1967. One of these bad boys, the first British team to bring this home, the British shores, as you could say. The famous star, Bertie, was a part of that history. So obviously it was all overwhelming reception when he came back to Glasgow. Him, the boys came back. He's played with some phenomenal footballers. Obviously, Caesar, rest in peace, Caesar. It's nearly a year. Jinky Johnson, he was quite good friends with Tommy Gemmell, Joe McBride, Simpson. The names go on. Chalmers, some phenomenal Lisbon Lions. They were unbelievable. Like, there's no team in history will done what they done. 30-mile radius of Glasgow. The furthest player was out in South Colts. Apologies if I pronounced it wrong. But Bertie eventually left the club in 1971. He went on to Hibs. He was released by the club. Obviously before all this, he had a great partnership with Bobby Murdoch in the middle of the midfield. He was just a machine. He was real hard as nails. Jock was always afraid that he was always going to get sent off. But what Jock Stein did say, just a flashback to when Jock Stein took over, they were at one of their first games of the season against Airdrie away, and he said, this is our era. You know what the story is, lads. This is our era. And it was our era. Look at, they made history. So Bertie played for Hibs for a couple of years, and then he went on to the coaching role. He basically left Hibs, took over a managerial role at Partick Thistle, won the Division 1 title in 1976, and then went back to Hibs as a manager and won the Division 1 title in 1981. So obviously went back to his roots, went back down the road, went up to see Partick Thistle, took them over, got them a title. Quite good, keeping the local teams happy. But he did sign back to Celtic at that time when the second time he signed back for 12 grand. Wasn't bad, it wasn't bad. I know I'm jumping from one scenario to another, but it's all coming into my head. What I like about Bertie is, obviously when Caesar passed away, obviously him, Jim Craig and John Clark went up to the Caesar statue and left the spirits. He kept singing, and he had a nice composed feeling. He knew Caesar was on the way up, but he kept it lit, and it was sad, but he's been through obviously the amount of deaths that he's been, like, not just at Celtic, other remarkable players in the Scottish game. He's had to see it. But you know what? He goes around with that blazer on. He goes around, tells stories to the fans, tells stories. He does a lot of functions. Obviously, there's a cracking one of him and Jinky in Bird's Bar back in the early zeros. Absolutely class interview. And Bertie's class. And obviously, what else we love about Bertie Auld is the Celtic musical. He took a part of that Celtic musical. He got the fans going. He done quite good there. And then he was a part of the Last Christmas ad as well. So look, it is what it is. If you know the history, you know the history. But I'd love to meet him one day before he ever passes away, and I hope he doesn't anytime soon, because he's just an absolute legend to have around the club. His interviews are remarkable. I sat there on Friday for 3 hours watching Bertie Auld interviews. That's how good he is. That's how funny he is. That's what you want, a bit of character, a bit of a laugh. But as I said, I'm just looking over the piece of paper. 267 appearances, 78 goals for Celtic. He got three caps for Scotland as well. I want to touch on that as well. So he's played with some phenomenal players. As I said, look, Jinky Johnson, one of them, one of the best in his time. As you said about Jinky, he was like the likes of George Best and stuff like that. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think of Bertie Auld. Have I let a couple of things out? Throw it in the comments. As you said, this star, thanks to that bad boy, thanks to that Bertie Auld, with the old singing on the middle of the pitch. But what a man, what a party animal for his age. Bertie boy today, 82 years of age, absolute legend, a legend. And it's good to look up stuff like this and talk about players like this, But I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up. If you haven't seen my stuff, subscribe to the channel. I'll put up as much as I can, and I hope you like the little layout. I change the jerseys around each week or each time I do a video. So obviously we have the iconic Scottish Cup final jersey, the L 95-96 jersey, well 94 to 96 jersey. we got the Nakamura, and we got I call it the Optimus Prime. Well, the Charlie Optimus Prime, Charlie McGrew, the Kilmarnock, one in a row. So yeah, enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Hell. Have a good Monday. Up the Celts. Subscribe to the channel and get the football back on so we can enjoy it.